Join us as we sit down with our CEO, Tim Holme. Hi, Tim. Thank you for sitting down with us today. Let's get straight into it. What inspired you to write The Path to Automation?
Actually working on my new book, The Intelligent Workforce: How Humans Plus Machines Will Co-Create a Better Future, and realized that in all of our business meetings, right, the basic understandings on AI kept coming up, right? So there's really no single guide to understanding AI and how it'll impact your business. So we focused on that for our next white paper, kind of a precursor to the book coming out here in a few months.
How do you co-create a better future with humans plus machines?
Think the big myth is that AI is going to take your job. And if you go back through history, right, from the farm to the factory, from the cube to the cloud, everybody thinks that's going to eliminate jobs, which it does, but it actually always creates more jobs, right? So when you look at AI will absolutely take some jobs. Really, the high volume, low complexity transactions should be automated anyway. But if you look at training with AI and what AI can actually do to make you more efficient, to make you smarter, to make you faster, I think it'll actually create more jobs. And my favorite quote is, someone AI is not going to take your job. Someone who knows how to use AI is going to take your job.
Who is the intelligent workforce written for?
I'll actually. So who's the book going to help, and why am I writing The Intelligent Workforce? It actually goes back to my first book. So I wrote The New World of Work from the Cube to the Cloud about remote working back in 2012. And that was really a roadmap for how people can work from a home, both from a career perspective, but also from a business perspective to be able to leverage this talent, right? You have the nation now as your recruiting pool instead of your local area, 20, 30-mile radius to your building. So that was really the first inspiration for writing that. Looked at this new book, and they wanted, actually, it's being published by Forbes. They wanted to re-release the first book. I was kind of like that. It was 10 years ago. They said, COVID just happened. You need to re-release that. So we published The New World of Work, The Cube, the Cloud, and What's Next. And that hit Amazon bestseller on a couple different categories. And so that was kind of the precursor to this intelligent workforce. And so it's helping to educate people. AI is so scary to people, right? They think it's overwhelming. They don't know how it works. And I don't think you need to know how the ones and zeros work, but you need to know what the practical use cases are to be able to apply it to different use cases for your business, both internal and external, right? You can help internally some of the processes, workflows, efficiency with AI. And then also from a customer experience perspective, the benefits are undeniable.
What are the key steps in implementing AI in customer experience?
Yeah, that in what you just said is the key to this, right? So what are really the key steps in creating an effective CX roadmap around AI and automation? Is the first thing I always start with is get started, right? You have to be willing to dip your toe in to get started, right? There's really no failure in this, right? People are afraid of failure, but there's data and knowledge. Even if it doesn't work how you thought it was going to work, you're going to gain experience and knowledge and insight how to make it work in the future. So the first, I really have like 5, 6 steps, right? Define the vision and objectives. What are the use cases? I mentioned internal, external, right? Understand your customer journey. Number 2, right? What are the pain points? Where are the gaps? How can you help improve your company brand or your customer journey by leveraging AI? And then you need to assess your current technology stack, right? Your partners, what works, what doesn't, who are you going to keep, who are you going to work with, who you're not going to work with, and gather and leverage your data, right? So everything driven in AI is data. Data is king, right? For AI, everything. Collect, analyze, gain insights into the behavior, the trends, preferences. That's how you're going to be able to make kind of predictable or prescriptive, AI recommendations. And then really it's identify and prioritize the high impact use cases, right? So what's got, what grape has the most juice in it, right? Focus on AI that can enhance your customer experience, that can improve employee, performance, can reduce costs. I think that's key. And, really, I said five, the last is really just develop the plan and go, right? That's the most important thing, is to get started. I think, the challenge we've seen in this is you have 50 technology companies coming and presenting to you and doing demos how they can improve your business, and you get lost. So it's demo research, and you feel like a deer in the headlight. And so, the thing we continue to tell people is, like, develop this kind of 5-step plan and dip your toe in and run a pilot. The pilot's going to give you all the data. The pilot's going to give you the information to analyze, again, all the insights into your customer behavior and really set up that roadmap for what you should do as a company. So big key, there is no failure in this space, right? It is literally, from failure, you will gain insight, data, and knowledge, and that's king.
How do companies internally identify opportunities for AI integration into their business?
Really look at the data. I know I said that before. You'll probably hear that 5 times here while we talk today, but survey the customers, survey the employees, right? Look where employees are spending too much time on high volume, low complexity transactions. Can those be automated, thus freeing up your human agents to handle, more complex transactions and workflows? And I think that's the key. Look where the gaps are. Look where the pain points are from your customer. And are there any AI or automation solutions that can help solve those? And the answer is yes, right? I mean, we have some great tools, Agent Assist, right, where we can create dynamic scripting in real time when agents are talking to customers. And it actually starts to bring up prescriptive scripting on the fly, dynamic scripting, so that the agent knows how to drive the call. And, that's powerful. We have a AI summary, post-call summary, so that we can post the end of that call, do an AI summary, and post that to the customer record, right, or the CRM. And so now the company has that, and the agent's not spending time on their after call wrap. They don't have to spend 3 minutes kind of summarizing how the call went. And, in our industry, let's face it, a lot of agents are a little bit lazy. They might click the first button, this is why they called. Instead, you have 100% compliance because you're running it through the AI machine. So your data becomes actually better and better and better because everything you get from that AI summary is accurate.
What role does pilot testing play in the implementation of AI in CX?
So what role does pilot testing play in the implementation of AI in CX? First off, pilots make it, easy to get started, right? You can segment off some transactions. You can put guardrails on there so the machine doesn't hallucinate. It's a closed test, and you can really dial in, and you know exactly what button you're pushing or dial you're turning to improve the performance and the efficiency, right? And then you're tuning the machine. And you just mentioned you're using Firefly to summarize the calls. People are using Copilot. People are using ChatGPT and a number of other AI components. You see how easy it is to use it. Pilots can be that easy as well. And I think the concern, everybody's like, well, I got to run to my IT. And then you have ITs like, well, I don't know who's making the AI decision. If you can take that away, so you're not burdening the IT group, you can literally bring this managed solution in on this pilot, put the guardrails and set that up. That could become the roadmap for the future. Roll that out across your network. That's where this really works. And pilots should deliver results in 6 to 9 months. And I think that's another concern with IT, right? They spend a year researching it, they spend a year implementing it. In 2 years, this industry is going to change again. I keep saying we had 3 years before it changes. Now I'm saying we have 12 to 18 months. It's going to continue to change. Every week you see new technology coming out, right? ChatGPT is pushing product out so fast, and then you have Google and Elon Musk working, and Meta. They're all working to keep up with it. Amazon, and so you have this kind of race. There's more capital investment happening in this space than the internet in the mid-90s. That says a lot. So really, we urge companies to just do a pilot, right, where it doesn't have to go through a huge approval process. You don't need a bunch of IT resources. So they identify maybe a small segment of their business. In our industry, right, we look for 25, 50, 100, seats of contact center capacity. And then we will stand that up. So now we've immersed ourselves in their training development, their workflows, their knowledge base, their FAQs. We know how they handle their processes. And we stand that up, and then we layer in these AI tools to assist both on the agent side as well as the customer side. And so, keep it small. It should be an agile test. You should be able to put, boundaries around it or put it in a box with guardrails so that you know exactly what you're testing. There's no risk from a large language model or losing any of the the privacy information with your data, and you know exactly what you're doing to make that work. I always say, what dials you're turning, what buttons you're pushing to make it work, because that's key. That'll become your roadmap, right, as you roll out.
How do we balance AI and human interaction?
Yeah, this is really a great question, Rick, right? The importance of balancing automation and human interaction in customer experience. It's really the basis for the company, right? So Humash, Humans Plus Machines, we commercialized almost 9 years ago, right? To focus on the human aspect of AI, right? Because you had all these technology companies kind of the pioneers kind of pushing AI, and you throw a bunch of unstructured data in and it kicks out all the results, and that's all you need to do. And that wasn't the case, right? You need a human in the loop for tuning the machine, for script writing, for conversational design. And I think people are worried that CX will, automation will compromise the customer experience. But to your point earlier, it actually improves it, right? CX will improve with AI and automation, right? There's companies that don't operate 24/7 by 365. And I think to myself, and today we're 2024. And the best attempt at resolving a customer issue is to say, call back tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Can't you attempt to automate that transaction? And if you can, great. Even if it starts with a 10 or 20, 30% automation containment rate, you've improved that customer experience. You've improved the efficiency of your back-end workforce, right? And if you can't resolve it, you open a ticket, you have somebody work on it in the background. The AI will provide some guidance to whoever picks that up from a human perspective, and then circle back. Maybe you text them, maybe you email, maybe you call them the next day, you schedule a call. But I think really AI is, again, it's gonna make humans more knowledgeable, faster, more efficient. We're measuring sentiment analysis. I can tell when I'm talking to Rick if you start to get upset. We're working on stuff at the University of Texas at Dallas where we can start to look at not only sentiment but different disciplines of a call, right? Different dimensions of a call where you might be curious or you might be concerned or you might have issues. If we can tell that, now you're telling the human is like, listen, your response was not resonating. You need to change your answer. You need to ask more questions. And again, the AI can be providing guidance as well. So yeah, I think the human interaction is really the core to our charter, right? Humans plus machines, because it's not just AI. And I think I see that for the foreseeable future, right? You have ethical considerations with AI, right? You have a lot of concerns with AI. There's going to be a human in the loop for many years to come on AI.
What are the ethical considerations that companies need to keep in mind when deploying AI?
Yeah, this is always in the news, right? What are the ethical considerations and concerns with AI, and what has to happen in this space? And that's probably a whole nother hour discussion, Rick, right? Because what we recommend is that companies they really implement ethical standards and policies to ensure that the data privacy and the bias mitigation is minimized, right? And so what does that mean? It just means that you don't want any of the data that's supposed to be closed getting out there. That's easy. And you want to eliminate the machine hallucinating, right? And everybody who's used ChatGPT can ask it the same question a little bit differently and start to trick the machine where it's given a different answer. and that can't happen as well. And that's actually the biggest concern is the machine, the way you tune the machine, if you can start to manipulate the bias on that, and that's happening in your world, in the social media world, right? That's where this spins out of control. So I know, the legislators are looking at it. I know the big technology companies have created kind of an ethical kind of task force to look at this. My concern is the legislators don't really understand the technology, right? I think I saw a proposal about 6 months ago from a senator that wanted to put an age restriction on AI, and you can't put the genie back in the bottle, right? So AI will be around, you'll have bad actors, and we just have to look at different policies to make sure that, we put some guardrails around that. Because the next thing that's coming is quantum computing. It's going to make AI look like, it's antiquated, right? And so I think the it's out there in the world. There's, you can't stop it. You have to find a way to manage to that. And ethics, certainly data privacy, bias mitigation are all some of the key concerns.
Should AI ethics be regulated by legislators or managed by companies?
I think it should be a committee. So do I think that legislators should dictate, what the ethics should be? I don't think legislators understand it enough. I think it should be the big technology companies that create some ethical standards and guidelines, and not just one company. Because if you have one company write it, they're going to be writing it the way that it benefits their company the best. But if you have a consortium or you have a committee that can help kind of drive this, I think that'll actually work. And then you put some limitations on, how some of the technology can be used. And so I think there's a lot of chapters that are going to be written around ethical AI, and we're going to learn. There's going to be some failures, and you're going to see that, and the failures will create more standards and policies. And I think you have to go through some of that, just like every technology that rolls out, right? Remember, 1-800 service was driven by really the adult industry and direct response, right? And you had to put some guardrails around that. And another example is 900 billing. Remember the 900 numbers? That was a great billing mechanism driven by the phone company, but then you had some bad actors come in, and the product's gone now. So I think you have to have some bruises along the way, and that actually is what's going to drive, at the end of the day, some ethical standards and policies to ensure that data is safe, the biases are mitigated, and AI is working as it should.
What are some real world examples of AI improving CX?
That's my world, right? It's very CX focused. But I mentioned a couple earlier, like Agent Assist, right? Where you have dynamic scripting, where we're recording and doing a real-time transcription of that interaction, both from the agent side as well as the customer side. And then the machine can start to create dynamic scripts, how to drive that call. So prescriptive or predictive type scripting to drive that call. And then I also mentioned post-call AI summary, right? Where the machine will actually transcribe it, summarize it, and post that to your customer file. I think that's a pain point all of us have had, right? You call a company, and it's the third time you've called them, and you have to explain everything again. That shouldn't happen in today's world, right? Or if you send a text back and forth and you get escalated to an agent, you get to the agent, they're like, "What's your account number?" And you're like, "Come on, I just spent 20 minutes texting with somebody." All that transaction should be seamless, right? And so AI is making that seamless. Now you have the post-call AI summary. You can be, I mentioned earlier, 24/7 by 365 with a human-like interaction. And that was the goal of Humash, is how do we create the best digital voice agent that can transact, where you want to talk to that agent, right? I think one of the biggest frustrations is you call a company and it's press 1, press 2, press 6. And if you press 6, press 2, and you're like, it's 2 minutes before you get to an agent. And then they're like, "What's your account number?" And you're like, "Really? You should know who I am," right? You have the ability to know when I call, match that phone number, to pull up my account information, to know that I called 3 times before on this very instance? Can you resolve my issue? And if the machine can help handle or triage that, it's a better customer experience.
What are some key trends that are shaping the future of AI in CX?
The biggest trend we see with AI is development of custom language models, right? So everybody knows what a large language model is. That's when you use a Chat GPT or any of the other open source ones. And your information's going in to tune that, and people are, now have access to that same information. What we're creating for our customers is a custom language model, right? So we'll ingest their FAQs, their knowledge base, their training curriculum. We'll take 60 days of recorded calls and ingest that into the machine and literally spin up that digital agent. So now we're starting with all the information, and you have a human go through, editorial review, tune the machine, and you can actually create your own custom language model. We have some custom language models that if they don't know the answer, it'll go to a large language model. That's possible. Or in order to increase automation containment rates, you might want a box around it. If somebody goes off script and they want to ask you what the weather is in California, it's like, no, this is our business. Let's get back to our business. And so custom language models to me seem to be probably the biggest trend we're seeing right now with AI.
Wow, that's great. And in those custom language models, do they have like I noticed that they're starting to make some of the companies are starting to make the voices actually sound more like real people versus
Yeah.
like a real person versus like a computer person. Is that something you guys are addressing?
Yeah, absolutely. To me, you need to have a human sounding agent because then people don't mind conversing. And let's face it, we rolled these assets out 9 years ago. Nobody knew what human in the loop or AI or generative AI meant. And when ChatGPT launched, people are like, oh my gosh, I can ask it questions like I'm talking to my friend, and it spits back the answer. And so people expect that from a voice perspective too. So what's out? IVR. People don't want a voicemail jail. That doesn't work. But if I can ask you an open-ended question and you respond with the answer, I actually would prefer AI and automation instead of somebody telling me to call back tomorrow or, multiple escalations and then you have to repeat your credit card again, right? I think what's coming is real human sounding agents, which you've seen now. Some of the voices are phenomenal. The key, you're resolving issues, right? If you can get to the first resolution on that first call, then everybody likes it. It's a win-win.
How do businesses measure the ROI of AI?
How do businesses kind of effectively measure, the success of this AI? And we break it down to KPIs, right? Key performance indicators, right? So the measurement before and after the pilot, actually before, during, and after the pilot, right? Know what you want to improve. You should be measuring that, or how do you know you need to improve it? And then, look for the incremental improvements so you know what to focus on. And if you start with 2 or 3 use cases and, 2 are somewhat duds, it didn't really improve much, move on, but move to that one that does and look for incremental improvements, in what you're measuring. And that, I'll go back. If you can't measure it, how are you going to improve it? And so we actually sometimes have to have companies step back and say, you need to really look at, what you want to improve and how do you measure it today? And they're not really measuring it like you need to measure it. And so what's the outcome of that? Are you reducing labor and headcount? Are you improving internal processes and workflows? Are you improving the customer experience? And then, measure those kind of before, during, and after the pilot. Companies are leveraging AI for their workforce to make their good employees better. And that's more efficient as well. And so we're working on a project today that literally wants to create a virtual workforce of people that can be, travel assistants and admin people and schedule appointments. And it's like they literally want a workforce of digital agents so that they don't have to go out and continue to hire, thus leaving their, great employees who've been with the firm for a long time, the ability to kind of move upstream a little bit. So yeah, what you said is I think really what's going to drive some of the startups and smaller businesses to be able to compete with these large enterprises so much quicker.
How can we train employees to collaborate with AI?
Yeah, so that, again, all these questions have been spot on, right? So how do we train employees to work alongside the AI in customer service? I think this is a critical area for companies to focus on for the future of their workforce, right? So we created at Humash kind of an AI certification program for our agents, right? Teach the fundamentals of AI, then teach how AI is really driving change in CX and how they'll work alongside AI. And I think that's really what's going to allow the workforce to continue. Teach the fundamentals. It's really the reason we wrote the Path to Automation. If you read that, I think you can understand, wow, I need to change the way I train this workforce so they're ready to embrace this AI. And this, I'll give you another quote because I love the quotes, right? So, this one's a Richard Branson, but you train these people so that they can leave your organization and you treat them well enough that they want to stay. I think the key, right, how AI tools can assist in real-time decision-making is really what's going to drive AI in the future for CX, right? So real-time transcription, the machine can be interpreting, it can be presenting to your employer agent for agent assist, right? Dynamic scripting. You have prescriptive offers that can now come based on your preference, your profile, your past history. There's a lot you can bring into the model. And that dynamic scripting, right, based on prior transactions, based on these preferences, will train the AI models. And so to me, when everything gets to the point that it is real time, and I think that's what's held back some of the digital voice agent, because computers were a little slow, the chips were slow, so that when you were conversing with the computer and it's got you've heard those where it sounds like there's tones in the background, like the computer's thinking. Well, that's a delay, and that's not a human interaction, right? When you ask a question, you want an answer. And I think now the systems have sped up to the point that it's real time. And now that it's real time, it'll be more human-like.